Hi guys, welcome to Say Hey to Art. This is Stuti. After a long time, we are here. We are back with our season 2 of Artsy Entrepreneurs, and I have an amazing lineup of artists curated specially for you. In this series, we talk about all sorts of businesses related to art, and today we have a very special guest with us. We have Ankon Mitra. He's a origami artist. He's if you have seen his work, great. If you've not seen his work, please check it out. It's massive. It's beautiful. It's always innovative. So I'm just going to invite Ankon to the live, and we are going to talk about the business of origami. Hi, how are you doing?
Very well.
I
Can you
can
hear
hear you
me?
loud and clear. So, guys, I have a set of questions for Ankon that I'm going to be talking about. Plus, if you guys have any questions that you would like to ask him, we have kept the last 5 to 10 minutes just for the Q&A. So, if you have any questions regarding the art of origami, the business of origami, how to get work, where to start, and what exactly is the skill set that you require to be an origami artist. So these are some spheres we are going to cover. So first of all, let me ask Ankon about his latest projects and what's been the best thing that you have done so far. Like your favorite project that you've done so far.
So favorite projects keep
Changing.
changing because yeah, they keep changing because at some point when we are birthing a new baby, then that baby is the favorite at that
Correct.
point. Um, Last recent favorite was when we were folding glass. It was a wonderful experience. Glass, as you can imagine, is if you think of glass, you wouldn't imagine that you would not immediately relate it to folding.
You can fold it.
So process of heat, and process of molds, and all of that is involved. The initial process is, of course, starting with something which is foldable. So we make a paper model of what we would want to fold, um, translate it into a cardboard or a hard material mold. From that, take out you know maybe a plaster of Paris mold, and then
Correct.
or a stainless steel mold, and then use that. I've been collaborating with a ceramic and glass artist, Revati Jayakrishnan, on the glass folding projects. So I love to collaborate a lot with different artists, especially those who have a specialization in materials
Correct.
which are different from my specializations. And that was the last most exciting project where we had like a Yahoo moment when we got those sheets of folded glass, and it was a fantastic final project. Really it changed my confidence level in being able to move on to even more tougher
Yeah.
materials.
Even, like whenever I've also worked with a new medium, especially somewhere relevant to origami, it just changes your perspective. Like you enter into a whole new world wherein you get so many new things to explore. And the best part, I think the most that works with me is the best thing that works with me is that you see that those folds work on almost every medium if you do it properly. I think it's just a magical thing to see. So, we were talking about
Yes.
folding glass, acrylic, steel, molds. Ankle, what kind of cost get involved in building such a project? And how do you pre-contemplate that what will it cost to deliver a certain project?
So there are many things to be considered in this.
Correct.
Usually, when you start out, a lot of the experimentation is kind of in a black or gray area. You don't know the
What will it
processes that will
cost?
be
Correct.
needed, or the treatments that will be involved. So there is a fair element of risk monetarily when you move into a new territory. So that is part of the challenge of also being able to kind of push oneself out of one's comfort zone.
Right. So, okay, so we were talking about different techniques and what all things we can
Sure,
do with
sure.
origami. So, Anton, one question from my end, like what has been the most amazing application you have found out of
Hmm.
origami?
It's not one actually. There are many, uh, and some are already being used actually. So
Right.
I cannot take credit for having invented anything, but there are three fundamental things in the technique which make it
Correct.
meaningful. One is that you can pack things very small, and that has a lot of applications in situations where you want to make things small and then deploy them, at the, at the right time. One ancient
Correct.
equipment which we all use is an umbrella, which is an expression of that. Um, in architecture, possibly in situations where there's been a flood or a tsunami or an avalanche of some sort, where you very quickly need to create deployable architecture, is you can literally put a foldable
Correct.
tent in a truck, many of them, transport them, and they are not like tents. So like this, there are many solutions. We also work on a few projects where uh, we in the past worked on a bag which was a sort of like a
Mhm.
baby box, and you have these
Correct.
construction workers, women who newly become mothers, and often when you go to the construction sites, you'll find these very small newborn
Correct.
babies, just
Correct.
either swaddled in cloth or hanging on some sari between two trees kind of situation. And we created
Mhm.
this flexible packable kind
Mhm.
of baby box, which is like opens like an accordion. And
Correct.
that mother, because they don't have the luxury of taking long maternity leave, they have to get back to work, so they can carry that
Correct.
with them on their backs. It's like a backpack, and the baby is in the front swaddled, and at the project location, it is a safe space for the baby to be in.
Mhm.
um, it also had a rocking mechanism. About an acupressure mug which we've been working on, which basically the idea is that it uses, so when you hold it, it's got a lot of folds on its body, and they are supposed to help in stimulation of the nerve. So while you are sipping your favorite beverage, the mug actually acts
Correct.
like a stimulant for the brain. Uh, so while you are having your coffee, which is a stimulant for your brain, the mug itself also kind of helps along to
Mm.
calm down, to activate, to balance
Correct.
the nervous system. So that again was a indirect use of
Mm.
folds to kind of create, or spikes to kind of create a product which kind of serves that end goal of using folds to create something utilitarian. So a lot of, in some senses, artists always have this a little bit of this, what do you call, this sense that all our
No, it's
work is
always useful.
uh, useless, in the sense that
Needs the human brain.
it is, of course, art is one of the fundamental things which which distinguishes
Express.
us from
Correct.
creatures who cannot or do not create art. And it's one of the
Correct.
foundational reasons to for human beings to exist, to create art. But often when when you go out into the world and you're interacting with mm, say with engineers or scientists
I
or
think Ankon, the right word.
businessmen or
No, no. I think the right word for this
bankers,
is
they're like,
Indian
you these are
parents.
real jobs, what do you do? So
Parents.
mm, the right word is
I think that is one. Nowadays, people
parents,
have
yes,
improved a lot,
yes,
but I
perhaps,
remember during my
perhaps.
time, it was just
So
hilarious for people to see that somebody is pursuing art. Meaning, they did not understand like what are you trying to do with your life. So I have faced that a lot. I have been questioned. So
hmm,
karte kya ho a lot. Like apart from
hmm,
this, what do you
hmm,
exactly do? How do you make a living? So whenever I used to say I make a very happy living out of
hmm,
it, and they could not digest
hmm.
what is this thing? Yeah, correct.
So I can say very confidently, I have made a lot of sacrifices to establish myself as an artist. But
Right.
now in my studio, we have a lot of architects working with us. I am an architect by training. So I'm very proud of this. That
And we are very proud to see whatever you are
I'm
doing.
able.
It's like every time. Uh,
So thank you.
and like, what is your take on origami as a business? Where did you start? Like, how do you approach for work? Do people approach you for work now? And what are the commercial when you do?
So I was saying that initially there was no business around this. I also did not intend building a business
Correct.
around this. I had started it as primarily a research project for myself because I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to explore this technique
Correct.
and see what all things were there in it. And
Right.
then one thing led to another thing. So it was a very organic um, growth. What I would like to stress here is that anybody who's looking to go into any territory which is new and unexplored, they should
Plan, of course.
definitely have a fallback, a bread and butter profession happening alongside. I have been very
Correct.
fortunate in the sense that I had an architecture practice already going on, and I was practicing landscape. And this then was a lot of the little bits of extra time that I had to find so that I could, delve into
Mm-hmm.
this and then slowly build my experience of the technique, of the
Correct.
materials, of the processes, of the possibilities, and then from that you have to at some point you have to take a leap of faith, and that leap of faith was my first
Mm-hmm.
exhibition at the India Habitat Center, which was self-funded, and uh, I was also very foolish at that time. I thought, I'll
That
show
does not
something new
happen.
and then, everything will suddenly get sold and I will make a lot of money. Uh, so now in hindsight, I know that does not happen,
Yeah.
but it created a lot
Yeah.
of,
Yeah. Right. So I was saying, I think getting into exhibits, I think
no, there
primarily
was a
what it
little
does
break,
for
so
any
I
artist is
couldn't
it
hear what
gives them a
you
break
said.
and a space to, showcase that we are capable of this. And it becomes a good start point at least. Right? There is a lot of money that goes into putting up
Yeah,
exhibits. I have personally helped a lot of people doing that, but also you need to have that reality check. It is not going to happen
correct.
overnight. It will take its own due course. And moreover, I think also with art, since it's an expensive investment, it's not something you just
Yes.
buy impulsively. A person will look at it, they will go home, they will think about it, where will I apply this, even if they've liked it a lot. So unless they have that space, that mindset, that aesthetic that goes with their thing, they will not, buy it,
Yeah.
instantly, but eventually it does pay off somewhere. Achha, I have one question. It is a personal problem that I face with origami that I do. How do you store it?
Yes. So you need to have a system uh, for storing it. We are also, I wouldn't say that the studio is a kind of a
Yeah,
great place to store. We also use a lot of stuff, especially, paper prototypes and things. But we tend to, as long as you have some kind of a
correct.
sorting system, even if it is something as simple as having cartons in which you put labels and put a picture of your model, and then just put it in the carton so you know that this is inside the carton, and then basically you have cartons stacked so you know that
The
these are your
scale of
study
the project.
models. um, Final works, of course, depending on what is the material, the scale, and all of that. There are various ways
Okay.
to preserve. For instance, you can put a fabric backing on your paper that immediately prolongs the life. Instead of using
Will turn yellow.
the mill paper, you can go for acid-free paper. Any paper which has acid in
Right.
its process of making will eventually become yellow with age and also become brittle. The acid actually makes it brittle, which is why photographers use acid-free paper for printing their photographs. So that keeps the
Right.
photos good for hundreds of years. So acid-free paper is of course expensive, but if you want your art to be preserved without using uh, anything other than paper, then I would say that please go for acid free paper or
Correct.
handmade paper where you know that acid was not used in the making of the paper. We use a lot of
Um,
acid based
um,
paper, but we are usually never only using paper in our final
mhm.
installations. We use a material called DuPont Tyvek, which is made by this American company DuPont, which
But
looks and feels
exactly,
like
is it a
paper.
kind of a fabric?
But the company guarantees
Is
hundreds
it a
of
kind of
years of life.
synthetic
It's
fabric?
actually a non-woven plastic.
Okay.
It's more like paper. DuPont Tyvek is paper. It feels very
Right.
much like paper. It's used in the US to make envelopes,
Right.
envelopes, and they are waterproof envelopes. So it's a very good material to work with. We use another
Hmm.
material called polypropylene, which also looks and feels like paper. It's a
Like,
matte plastic. Only problem with polypropylene is that if you
yeah.
expose it to direct sunlight, then in the UV light it becomes brittle. The UV component of the sun makes
Hmm.
it brittle over time. It won't become brittle immediately, but
Hmm.
uh, if it's in an indirect lit
Okay. Yeah.
location where you are getting
It's
light
the
from a
direct
window,
sunlight
but
that
there is no direct sun
damages
on the
it.
work, then nothing
But I
happens.
think
Then it
that's
is
true
good
for a
for
lot of
hundreds of
papers,
years.
even yeah, even yeah, even inks and all.
Yeah. So
It's
that
really important to use the right media so that your artwork
artwork,
stays right. Okay. So, and
yeah, yes. So
right.
we can preserve the work. You can put some coatings, clear coatings on the paper. If you have access to nothing
But I
specialized, then
think
even
varnish you can only
a
put
layer
once
of
it is varnish. I
matte
think only
varnish
put once
is
the is
uh,
installed.
is good for
Not
paper.
before
It
the
preserves the
installation,
paper.
otherwise it would have some cracks, right?
So when you've achieved your final folds, like you are
Right.
happy that this is the, the output that I want, and you've kind of
Okay.
got the final shape and all, then after that you can varnish it.
Right.
There is no
Right.
problem, and let the
Strengthy, but
varnish dry. It also
it's
hardens
like
the paper,
almost a
so it will
lamination.
also preserve the
Yeah.
folds better in
Right.
that sense. Strength also.
Right. And
Yes,
also,
strength
Ankan, like,
also
how do you,
increases. So it's
let's
it's
not
very
talk about now
beneficial in
because now
that
already you
sense.
have a circuit network and people know you that you do such, these kind of installations. But how did you start? How did you approach people that, this is something possible? Because, like, as an artist, even I have faced a lot of issues convincing the person that, this is possible and we can do something like this. So, how did you get it?
So I have had a bit of an unfair
Hmm.
advantage in this at the beginning of my career, which is that because I'm already a practicing architect, I for some
A
of our
little add
projects we
on.
would convince our clients to put some art, which was the origami art in the architecture project, in the spaces. So one of my initial projects, we were doing up the house of
Hmm.
Arun Jaitley, who was the then finance minister, of India, and we, asked him. We were renovating his interior, so we asked him to buy one
Right.
work. So Madam Jaitley had come to my exhibition, so she picked up one work. So like that, then we've kind of also found interesting uses
Okay.
for the origami. For instance, somebody wanted an acoustic ceiling in
Right.
their double height lobby, so there was a lot of, like a clap clap kind of noise when you're walking in that double height space, and they wanted to solve that problem.
Absorb the noise.
So we came up with these origami pyramids in the ceiling, which we find,
Right.
which absorbs the noise, and the sound would not reverberate inside the
Correct.
space. So it was a two-in-one solution. It gave them a beautiful copper ceiling in the space, and at the same time it solved the noise problem in the space. So like this, I have actually gone finding uh, practical solutions in my profession itself to
Right.
begin with. I was not really looking to, become an artist in that sense. So there was no concerted plan that, one day I would become an artist and a successful one at that. But I kept focusing on the technique and trying
Hmm.
to find
Correct.
meaningful reasons to keep using it for different things. Um, I also
Okay.
looked at projects where, for instance, there was a project in which we said we'll use faceted mirrors in a space, and instead of using lots of lights, we will just use one or two sources of light, and using the reflection, refraction from the faceted mirror surfaces, the whole space would get lit up. So you end up using very less light, and just the fact that you have these surfaces which are reflecting the ambient light in
Correct.
the space, we were able to create a very
Right.
warmly and sufficiently lit up space using the folding technique. So these are some little few examples. There was a startup in IIT Delhi who had approached us saying that, they were trying to create this very affordable um, air conditioning system
Hmm.
which didn't have to be mounted
Correct.
on a wall or on a window. So like your typical split air conditioners, which have to be mounted, on a wall, and there's an outdoor unit. they wanted to have a flexible, and there are some international brands like Dyson and all which have those very expensive air conditioners. Um, the problem they were facing is that when you have a air conditioner which is round or which is cylindrical,
Correct. Yeah.
then you need a HEPA filter also inside which is cylindrical, you know. And they were having a huge problem solving that, because typical that filter that comes out from
Right.
the AC front, if you've ever seen it being cleaned, is basically a rectangle. It's a flat sheet of material. So we
Okay.
made a prototype solution for them where we pleated the
Right.
HEPA filter material, and
Fit
we gave them a
the cylinder of
completely cylindrical solution which they could fit it into the cylinder, and it worked really well. So
right.
I can't reveal more about the project because it's still in development, and it's we have some kind of an NDA with them. They'll
Correct.
launch it at some point, but um,
Problem.
it was good fun solving this problem. So I've always looked at origami as science or as engineering, and the art is incidental. It kind of happens. A lot of artists don't have that luxury because they have to look at art as sustenance. So I have not had to look at art as sustenance, but at the same time I would say that
Situation.
I have always put myself in very uncomfortable situations with respect to
Right.
doing something with the technique, saying that let's try it,
Correct.
and not knowing there is a project or no project. So for many years
Yeah, yeah.
the architecture studio kept funding and
It's a
losing
very
huge amounts of money
normal thing.
on my research, and we yes. So anybody who
Actually, you
understands this
have to
paradigm,
keep
that in the
putting in
beginning
and
you
not
have
look at
to
it. What did you
keep
put in?
putting in and keep putting in and keep putting in, and
Yeah. Then you'll not be able to do that. Yeah.
yes,
So,
don't be an accountant,
like
counting
my origami
kitna
application
dala.
came in packaging industry. So that is where, and packaging, it is very important that it eventually flat folds for the person who is packing and also for the person who will keep the box. So my intent was
Yes,
of the packaging so that people can reuse, store without
yes,
ordinarily getting one which really has a lot of practical applications, from lights, lampshades, packaging to your sound absorbing feeling, and beauty is obviously a part of it. I think you're right. I think, it's incidental beauty, but it has massive applications, and it is a definite science because you can actually translate it into math. Angle will fall like this, that angle will go there. With a little basic inclination to geometry and understanding what it is, it
mm,
becomes a beautiful way of expressing and solving a lot of problems. All right, so Ankon, going to the next bit. So apart from marketing, sustaining a business is also a
yes.
thing. So how would you say if somebody wants to start origami based business only? Should they do that, or should they keep a little bit
Mm,
of mix? And if only, how sustainable it is and how to price their
mm.
solutions like.
So the fundamental question to ask first is that
Correct.
what do you plan to create with the technique? Are you planning to create very, very, very super, niche, special, bespoke, one-off
Correct.
things which limited edition or something like that? Or are you planning to create mass produced products
Correct.
or affordable art where you let a lot of people have access to those? So depending on this, there should be a clear thought process or clarity in your mind
Mm.
at the get go that I want to make this accessible to a lot of people and I want to mass produce. Then the business you create is going to be very different from if you think that I'm going to be very very niche and only create super specialized some
Correct.
things which only a very select audience will have access to. So depending on um, this thought process, you have to kind of grow the practice around it. So now
Mm.
in hindsight, I can kind of, give gyan on this. But when I also began working with the technique and exploring, what I can do with it,
Right.
it wasn't clear to me also whether I should go the mass production route or whether I should, only make things artisanally by hand and just a few very,
Mm.
very limited batch, um, limited edition kind of things.
Yeah.
Uh, it's also possible to do both in the sense that you can have
Correct.
a separate brand of yours which is mass producing, and you also have a
Right.
brand which is you know super specialized. And so fashion
Yeah.
designers show the way in this, where they have a haute couture line which is limited edition dresses that they make, which they show at fashion shows and so on. And then they have the pret-a-porter
Right.
lines which are available
Mm.
at retail stores, at multi-brand retail stores also, where you can
So,
pick up at
uh,
a much
I don't
affordable
know. From my
price.
perspective, what I have seen, somebody has seen my work personally, and if they know me, wouldn't they just prefer to, invest in a person they know rather than, getting into this branding business? Because I also understand I've done brands. That's my profession, brand design strategy. But I have understood out of it is that the brand is a lot of to create and to sustain on its own. Businesses and have to different ball game. Like business is where your finances come into play. Branding is a endless game. Like it can go on for lifetimes and it would still be less. So I don't know. Maybe like what I'm trying to get from this conversation is that as a business, no matter what you are doing in Origami, like what is the right to make it sustainable rather than the branding bit of, because branding I think is very personal. Everybody and everybody will do it in their own bandwidths that they have.
So again here, before somebody jumps in and says ki, branding is of course necessary and one needs to do branding and marketing and all of
All
that,
correct,
the first
correct,
question
correct.
that one needs to ask is that what is the branding
Mm.
for? You know, what is it that you are looking to
Correct,
brand? You know, and what are those brand values? So because you end of the day, so for instance my brand value is that I am selling this idea
correct.
of uh,
Mm.
the beauty and the utility of folds. So that's the brand. So all the time I am talking
Correct,
about how folds are so magical and so wonderful, and that folds do this and folds do that. So that the brand experience comes from the fact that somebody buys into your story, the brand values and the idea that, the people who are buying my art, they are convinced that yes, the folds that ANKON Mitra uses or his studio uses to create the works, they are special and they are beautiful and they are distinctive and they have some kind of magical quality to them which distinguishes them from and for this to underline this, the background of this is endless, relentless research into innovation in the studio. What is it that can we create which we never decide on folding, but with folding we are always like in which new territory now take language. It's not just some vacuous statement saying that the universe is made of folds and so on and so forth, but we are living that in the studio, and because we believe in it ourselves, it is not that difficult then to convey this story to the world and this message that here there is something wonderful happening where folds are concerned. And you guys should also spend a little bit of time and also a little bit of money in investigating this.
Yeah, I think the sustainability. And also, I think the more we spend on the research and the time that we spend on this art is automatically going to make your business more sustainable, because you will have that kind of exploration and portfolio to always, pitch in also when you have an opportunity. Yeah, because if your work is not happening, what will you show to the world that where are you getting at? Right.
Absolutely.
And I think also, thirdly, it would add some confidence also to your thing, that if some problem is coming, and you will have some confidence that I will be able to solve it.
We face endless problems. Like every time we pick up a kind of a thing to explore, there are issues. Right now, we are for one project, we are trying to fold these, curve folded. It's a simple project. It's for a child's nursery. There'll be these butterfly sculptures on a wall, and as soon as we started folding the curves in metal, we realized that we've done large pieces of metal where we used wood dies to slowly massage the metal and create the shape. But with a small piece, we realized that method fails. It doesn't work. So now we are having to rethink, go back to the drawing board, saying how do we solve this. So a lot of the physical world catches up. So there is a workaround that we've now discovered. We are doing one set of foldings first in hard stainless steel, but small parts of the sculpture as individual one single fold, as dies. And then we are going to use the dies to one die at a time to one fold at a time. So if there are 12 types of folds in that curve folds in that piece, then there'll be 12 dies. So this is an iterative process in the studio. You hit against a wall, then you're like, okay, now remove some bricks and create a window. We'll jump through the window. So this is the joy of the practice. Why you would want.
How do you price a project? What all basic things that you keep in mind before giving a quote to a client? And do you have any terms and conditions if the project goes beyond the expected uh, financial commitments?
Deadline. So we've completed the work, we've packed the work, and then from site they say that, oh, our project is delayed
Okay.
at the moment, so the site is not ready to kind of, take your work. So we've had
Correct.
overruns where then the next project we have to start and we have limited amount of storage space in the studio. So when you have these large behemoth kind of installations packed and, these wooden cartons
Right.
kept, crate packing and all of that, then it's occupying our real estate and we don't know what to do with it. So we've been thinking about this, how when a site is overrun, it's a deadline, then how to deal with this situation. Because a client would hate to pay
Correct.
more for the same work, saying that now you have to pay me storage cost for the work if the project is kind of overstretching and things like that. So a workaround is
Right.
that I tell the client, you find a space in your project where I'm shipping the work, you keep it there, and then we come and install it when it's the right time. So coming back to your main question, which is that, how do you price the works? The It's very important to in my setup also, the discipline to first be able to
Right.
map how much time is actually being spent on the project. This discipline is very important, and most
Yeah,
artists,
yeah.
they have a
That
very
and also
vague
the
sense of,
workaround on the
oh, I must
research
have worked
that
on
goes
this for 2
into,
months,
building a
you
new
know
project. That time also.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. So all of that needs to be mapped. So just keeping some kind of a timesheet as a beginning is a professional thing to do. That on a daily basis, at the end of the day, you just put in
Correct.
a noting of hours that you've actually been working on the project in your timesheet. And of course, our studio has like multiple people working on projects. So everybody maintains a timesheet. And so at least cumulatively at the end of a
Correct.
project, that the studio has spent, 900 man hours or, 5,000 man hours or something on a project. That is the first metric you can find out the cost or what should be the cost of the project. Working on it is being paid a salary. So let us say you are a single person artist, right? So you would first have to determine that, say, at this point in my life, and you can be very conservative or pragmatic about
Correct.
this. You say that, I should earn, say,
Yeah.
40,000
Yeah.
rupees a month or 50,000 rupees a month, and you put a number on that. So as soon as you put a number on that, then you know
Right.
that, okay, if I were working in an office,
Correct.
I would be putting in, say, 200 hours in a month
Hmm.
of work in the office, and the office would remunerate me with 50,000 rupees, and uh,
Right.
that clearly gives you 50,000 divided by 200, so that gives you a
Hmm.
man hour cost.
Yeah.
All the other things are very, very easy to map, the
Correct.
materials you've used, the outside vendors you've used, because they are all going to charge you,
Right.
the uh, any transportation that has
Correct.
been involved, the going, coming
Yeah.
of materials, you traveling to
Yeah.
another location
There
to
is also
get a
the
certain amount
surprise
of the
cost
things
which
done.
we have
Those
while
are
we are
very, very
doing an
easy to map,
installation.
you know.
I always,
And once,
it's a surprise cost. Right.
so along with, say, packing and shipping of the work, while you go
Hmm.
there and you install more, many of our installations are in other cities in the
Correct.
country or abroad. So, all the attendant
Hmm.
costs, flight costs, visa costs, all of those have to be added. See, after you've
This is
added come to some number which you know that the actual
right.
price of creating this work is this much. You have that, then depending on what you feel your brand is, or what you feel is uh, uh, and this, then nobody can dictate to anybody else. That is your assessment. You can say that, okay, I want to make a 25% profit on the work, or I want to make a 33% profit on the work, or I want to make 100% profit on the work, or I want to make a 200%
That's
profit on
the
the work.
brand to
That is
brand.
your call. That
Correct.
is something that nobody can dictate to anybody else. It's brand to
Correct.
brand. It's a very fine-tuned qualitative decision that you take, and then once you've taken a decision, you must also evaluate that decision on the metrics of whether your work is sellable at that price or not. And then depending on whether you are able to make sales, you must then come to the analysis that if it's selling, okay, very good. If it is not selling, then is it
Correct.
because of the
That
price, or
self-assessment
is
is
it because of
very
there is
important.
something lacking in the work, or it is missing some,
Correct.
is very important that you get a sense, especially if you are in the market and you are looking to make
Correct.
your work marketable, then you must assess whether your work is market worthy. So those things are there. There are of course some artists who may take the moral position that I am not making work for the market, in which case it's absolutely fine. If you're not making your work for the market, you have some larger
Because
aims with your art, you are addressing some social issues, or you're trying to make a political
your bread
statement
and
with your
butter.
art, you better have a job on the side, which takes care of uh, your bread and butter, and then your art is your sole sustenance, which is very good. Then I mean, if your art is your sole sustenance, and
Hmm.
then maybe you are teaching art mm, on the side as
Okay.
in a
Yeah.
college, or you're taking tuitions, or you're working as a packaging designer, maybe in your case, like with a firm or something like that. So those are decisions. But if you are in the market as an artist and that is your bread and butter, then
Correct.
you have to take
And
some
I
very
also
hard
feel,
calls on, if
yeah,
my
I
art
also
is
feel
not
like,
selling, why
especially
is
when
it not
I
selling,
price a certain, suppose, let's say a
and
packaging
what can I
design.
do?
So I usually give them a pattern design of how the box will fold, form, and dismantle. So, this is something very specific. And if I am able to justify the cost of
Yeah.
my work to the benefit of the client, meaning if I can tell him that investing, suppose, 50,000 rupees in this will save you at least 10 lakh in your production, will save you these many man hours while you are folding and packaging. Because if you see the normal cake boxes, that's
Yeah.
that's one of the easiest examples we have. Everybody's seen a cake box.
Yes.
So cake effort to get everything into the
Yes.
correct alignment. So if that design problem is solved, see, it's not an art problem, it's a design problem. So if that design problem is
Mm.
solved, just imagine the number of hours you have saved while doing mass packaging.
Yes.
So as I think as an artist, all of us have to be very well aware of the applications we are pitching it for. So like the sound absorption thing, it's such a beautiful application, you know, and it is so important. Like right now, I'm sitting in the studio, I can hear a few horns here. So it's so
Mm.
important that while doing something, some applications are really uh, need to be taken into consideration. And I think our value comes in the application, that where are we applying that art so that it becomes a
Yes.
whole. And that's more of it. I think that's where, yeah, that's where I think costs can be
Yes,
justified a lot with the application of the product.
absolutely.
Right. Chalo, it was a very insightful session, Ankon. I think we've passed our time quite a lot despite all the glitches. So I'll be posting this interview and I'll be writing it out properly for everybody on the blog. So everybody can check out the blog. Ankon, if there is anything you would like to conclude this with, would be much appreciated.
So I always get this feeling that a lot of people, they uh, want to do often something, and there is some thing that holds them back. I often find in conversations with artists that they have some brave new insight, or they have not some kind of loss somehow if they do it. My take on this is that that loss should be allowed to happen. Don't miss that train, because sometimes there is the universe sends a message sometimes, and for lack of the uh,
Aligned.
fact that that our antenna was not properly attuned to the message, or B, we reached the station a little bit late.
Yeah.
That at that point, once you miss that train, there is a perfect moment at which point you should take that leap. And if you miss that train, then it becomes very difficult.
Yeah. No, I think
The
it never
next
comes. You'll have
train
to
that
run and catch
comes
the previous one that
may
left,
never come.
if you can.
So
Right.
I exhort anybody who is in any profession which is to do with innovation. If you have a bright idea, if you
Correct.
feel that you want to try something, take that
Same.
risk and try
Correct.
it. Because the worst that happens is that you will fail.
Yeah.
That failure is immensely enriching, because
Correct.
if you don't do it, then you keep wondering, what if I had done it?
Yeah.
And then you don't know the answer to that because you did not do it, so you don't know. And uh, and this is so cliched that that Thomas Alva Edison experimented with hundreds of
Right.
elements and alloys before he hit upon tungsten as the right material. But if you look at the life of scientists, this is immensely, because they keep doing their experiments until the solution comes. So I feel that artists, they tend to get trapped a little bit in their own thought process and in
Insecurity.
their own,
Yeah. Yeah.
I should say, vicious loops
Yeah. Yeah.
of and also stagnation, in the sense that you've reached a certain high. For this is for established
Correct.
artists also. You sometimes reach a high point um, in your life where you established or made it as an artist, and then I find that from that point on, and I've looked at a life and work of lot of artists, that
Again and again.
they've kept producing the same thing, then moving
Forever.
ahead with just some minor variations for the next, whatever part of their life is left. And this, to my mind, is a
Yeah.
huge loss to that artist, because you came through a tough journey and through a lot of trials and tribulations and learnings, and you reached a certain high point.
Yeah.
So if you reached K2, then next you should try for
Yeah.
Everest, not stand at the top of K2 and then descend K2.
Somewhere.
You
Somewhere.
should take a
Even the bottom is
glider
also nice.
and
The valley is
go
also
to
good. But I
Mount
think
Everest from
that
there. Somewhere
if you have
from
that
there.
brain and that years that you have invested into
Yeah.
innovating something, so why are you stopping? Yeah, I totally get your point. Like I've seen a lot of people myself also. Like once they have defined, that this bit of my art is sellable, they just stick to that and then they never move on. Matlab, it's okay, some people are good, some are bad, but we should keep learning new things and experimenting with new stuff. I think that's where the beauty of it is. Mm. Correct.
And if you're tired, for instance,
Yeah.
people can get tired and
Yeah.
exhausted in life, right? Take a holiday, take a break, take a sabbatical, do
Anything.
something
Yeah.
else, go do something else. Don't
Right.
do art, go do some other anything. I mean, go do horse riding and then come back
Something.
rejuvenated, refreshed, and then try something new.
Yeah.
But, for God's sake, don't keep producing the same
Yeah, yeah, it
thing
is.
over
It
and
is.
over. Just rehashing is
And
like
I have
literally
also seen
plagiarism of your
sometimes
own
clients
work,
are very, like I have honestly been lucky to be able to convince them
So
that please don't ask me to do the same thing again. I'll do something better. So you know that, yeah, yeah,
so clients will not help with this because
comedy.
if an actor gets established for being a good comedian, he will keep getting comedy roles. Then it is for the actor to
Correct.
spend some money, produce his own small film in which he plays a
Hmm.
tragic role, or in which he plays something which is not comedy. So the artist is then has to create work which is new work, which talks of something else, which is a movement further in his journey. Because once
Correct.
you've created that new work, then you show it to the world, and
Yeah.
then people will see it and they will value it for its worth.
Yeah.
But if you get stuck in that, oh, clients ask for the same thing, that's not legitimate answer. But that doesn't stop the chef from coming up with new hot selling items,
Correct. Correct.
to cook. That's the chef's role, to innovate and
Yeah. Yeah.
create new dishes which then become the new
Yeah.
hot selling items.
In my last
So
conversation I had, I told
you
the same
fooling
thing that
but
don't make
yourself?
your life an Instagram account. You don't have to make the same post again and keep posting for a billion years to have a million followers. You just need your 5, 10, 100 followers who are accepting your innovation. So you just don't have to do that, like one mill of the run thing that somebody else is doing and just keep copying. Copying is always good. Everybody should, you learn through copying things. You learn aesthetic through copy. You learn a lot of things through copying. I'm not against copying, but that should be a part of your learning process rather than your, output process. So these things, I think this is very insightful for people that don't take Instagram so seriously that you
Yeah.
don't see a life beyond it. Actual work is happening beyond this. You will not you'll not get, great projects on Instagram, but you will get them through actual work. And your skill cannot be something that you are just putting up in pictures. I can take a picture of the same project in 10 different ways and make it look, yeah. So I'm into Photoshop, so I know how to make things look good. But you need to be skilled enough to be able to handle things live, like when the situation is right there. So if an installation is going wrong, you can't be like, I have to go back to the studio and figure out something. So you should be skilled enough to, take your own things. Yeah. All right, Ankon, I think let's
Yeah.
to close it for the day because if we go on this tangent, it will not end. ठीक है चल yeah you want to you can add I'm good for the day I'm enjoying the
Yes,
conversation.
so many things to talk about. No, I think it's the point you made about Instagram. It's right.
Correct.
I mean, it is now an important tool to put your work out there. Let people see your work.
Correct.
It also depends. Again, I go back to that like you say, what is your brand? You have to think about what you
Correct.
want to do with this. So similarly, you have to think what is your Instagram account for.
Correct.
So there are artists who use their Instagram account as for journal keeping, and that's
Yeah, like a
legitimate
portfolio.
for them. I don't use my Instagram account for journal keeping. I use it like a website. So like a portfolio. So I'm putting up new works. So it gives people a sense of the current
Yeah.
projects that the
Correct.
recent work that I've done, and historically when you scroll down you'll be able to see works that happened last year and the year previous and so on and so forth, because
Correct.
the date line on Instagram is
Yeah.
automatically doing that for me. And I tend to put more final finished project,
Hmm.
pictures and videos and things like that. I
For a
do put
professional
process
approach.
pictures and videos sometimes, but I am using it more to kind of um
Hmm.
as a professional thing that audiences are able to see my works. There are some artists who are, uh, like I said, they are not using their artistic
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
practice to make a living.
Correct.
So then they're free to use Instagram. So if there's a very political artist, he
Correct.
can use the
As a statement
he can use
machine.
Instagram as his propaganda machinery, or as
Yeah,
his
yeah. Hmm.
as his statement machine, manifesto toolkit, that
Yeah.
people come and you want to brainwash people into your ideology. So
Yeah. But
feel free to use
correct.
Instagram like that. So
But end of the
to
day,
each
it
their
is
own.
just a tool.
But
That's the point. So
I'll
it's
be
just a
honest,
tool. It's not
I
you.
do get
It's
project
one part of
enquiries.
your gamut of what you are doing. So don't
Yeah,
take it too seriously, but take it sincerely is what I
no,
would say. Like take it the
yes,
way you want it to happen, but don't invest your life into it and not look for actual work. I think people need to get out there, be networking, and be talking to people who might be interested in getting them across in the market. I think that's very important. Correct.
yeah. Use the Instagram to
Everything.
be like a bridge, but you'll still need your horse and your carriage and your
Correct.
coachman and your you inside the coach to cross the bridge. So it's
Hmm.
only a bridge end of the day to reach more audiences, and you should have the same discipline that you have in your artistic practice in your engagement with
Correct.
Instagram. So you should wield it as professionally as a
Hmm.
tool. So you should be very clear what you are using Instagram for, and then you should set aside a disciplined amount of time and energy into creating your posts. At the same time,
Correct.
keeping a very very sharp eye on your whole story or your brand. That what is it? So don't post things which, for instance, uh, I
Hmm.
work with this guy, for instance. He's a very good engineer, and he works with me on kinetic installations. And his Instagram is a
Hmm.
hodgepodge of his political thoughts, his ravings and rantings about us, a political
Correct.
ideology. Then suddenly in between there'll be a post about his about his work.
Every
There'll be there are people I've seen who post about their dog, about their, about what they're eating in the morning, and
correct,
where they went on holiday. And then in the middle of that, there are some posts which are about their
correct,
work. So I mean, you should have the clarity what is, or maintain separate Instagram accounts, or don't.
right,
If you know that you're not using your Instagram account for your work, then fair enough. Do whatever the hell you want to do with it. That's totally your call. But if you're giving your Insta handle to somebody as a
correct,
professional
yeah,
and you are expecting them to come to
correct.
your Insta handle and see your art, then
So
please don't mix it up with your
yeah, so
personal
like
life,
the Say Hey to Art,
and
it is
and
a community page wherein
uh,
people are
make a
posting
hash of
their works,
things.
people are posting works on our products, people are doing a lot of things. So basically, the idea of this is that no matter what art you follow, you can use this as a platform. So that is what Say Hey to Art feed is trying to achieve. We will get there somewhere, but right now it's an ongoing process. We are also experimenting with new strategies on how to keep this page up. And similarly, like now that I have started taking calligraphy classes and all, I have made a separate page for that, so that people, when it comes to calligraphy, let them see that work. I'm also thinking of making a separate page for origami, but then I was like, it's too much work. So I don't know what will I
Correct.
do with it in the future. But presently, it's you have to treat your page with the right message that you want to give out for the work that you do. You have had the maximum number of
Absolutely.
network breaks.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'll have to type most of it out.
It'll be your task now to stitch this all together to make
Correct.
sense of it.
No, no, it's okay. It works.
Hmm.
It's a new skill
Sorry
to add
about
on
that.
to my portfolio, editing videos. Chalo. Yeah. Thank you, Ankon. It was a pleasure having you.
Yes. Correct.
Thank you for all the insights and all the
Super.
weird
Thank you
questions
so
we have
much
for
for
businesses.
this
But
conversation.
I think with my whole purpose of this series is to get the business side of art out, and people get more confidence into
Yes.
art as a sustainable business. So that was the goal of these conversations. Next, we
Hmm.
have 2, 3 more artists. I'll keep informing as and when the dates are coming,
Yes.
and keep in touch. All right. Bye, guys. See you. Thank you. Thank you, Ankom. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Bye.
Thank you.